everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Online Warriors podcast. My name is Nerdbomber.
And I'm Techtic.
And we have a chock-full Xbox episode for you this week. So much Xbox news, so much to talk about. But before we get into it, Techtic, how are you doing?
I'm stressed, man. Let me tell you something. Managing friends and friendships is hard work. And let me tell you something else. You get what you put in. So
don't your friends listen to this podcast?
They do, but I want them to know that I love them all, and I generally care about each and every one of them. I really hope you all listen to this because I'm so stressed, and I want you guys to know I love you.
He's over here I love you all equally very much. You're all my favorite. You're all loved equally in this household.
I mean, I have favorites, but we don't need to get into that.
Oh, shit. Yeah, you have been a little bundle of stress, and I apologize, but you're going to get a stressed out Techtic, and that's completely fair because so many of these Xbox changes are super stressful for the everyday player, and we're going to talk about it. No, but seriously, is there anything how has your week been going though? Have you had a good week other than the stress?
Week's been good. I've been having a hankering for coffee cake. Am I pregnant?
You're very emotional.
Very emotional.
I feel like that
cravings.
Is as a woman, I do have to stand up and be that is a little I don't know, a generalization. I don't know, but I mean,
these are real medical things that people go through.
This is true. But I mean, we have a good week. We apple picked. I know that this is not really a what are you up to, but this is my big thing.
I had my first PSL for the season.
First pumpkin spice latte.
Absolutely.
It is crazy to me that you waited until a week into October.
I was trying to save myself for October.
No, as soon as August 30th or whenever Starbucks introduced them.
It's too warm. It's
iced, baby.
It's too warm.
Yeah, no, pumpkin spice latte. I've been pumping them in my system since late August. I can never get enough of a pumpkin spice latte because as soon as November rolls around and Thanksgiving is in our rearview mirror, you're going to get Christmas stuff. You're going to get the peppermint mocha, and I love that stuff too. So I
can't drink my peppermint mochas during the day though.
Why?
Because I always put alcohol in them.
See, I'm just not an alcoholic, I guess, and I just drink them straight.
No, because it's the peppermint schnapps.
You're
really
thinking hot chocolate.
At.
I'm talking about going to Starbucks or your favorite coffee shop. I go to a local coffee shop lately.
I'm not thinking of hot chocolate. It is literally an adult's Four Loko. Think about it. Peppermint schnapps and caffeine. Let's go.
I mean, it's kind of more like an espresso martini if you really want to get into it.
Sure. Yeah, that's exactly that. But Christmassy.
I guess so. But yeah, I got to embrace my fall drinks while I can. And then I embrace my Christmas drinks. And I'm an advocate for your local coffee shop because my favorite barista also just quit my local coffee shop and my heart is broken.
It was your fault.
It was not my fault. He's off to bigger and better things. Not that there's anything wrong with being a barista. We're really rambling in this intro. It's totally fine. But yeah, he is pursuing his dreams and I'm happy for him.
Attaboy.
So like I said, we have a lot of Xbox news, a lot of changes coming to Gamepass, a lot of speculation about the future of Xbox, and we're going to get right into it with the Gamepass changes that Xbox introduced. So I'm going to paint a picture for you before we dig into the news and the meat of this. And I saw on Reddit, I think it was the last day in September, maybe it was October 3rd. But as of that day, you could no longer use the Microsoft Rewards program, which is Bing Rewards. You get points for searching and playing games and all that kind of good stuff. And you can redeem them for Game Pass subscriptions, gift cards, you can donate your points, whatever. So mysteriously, they decided, hey, as of today, this is your last day to redeem them for Game Pass Ultimate. So of course I did. I scrounged up all my points and I redeemed a couple months of Game Pass Ultimate, and I was well, this doesn't bode well. And sure enough, the next day they announced changes to Xbox Game Pass and the different subscription tiers. So in the past, we had Game Pass Ultimate, we had Standard, and we had Core. Those were the three different levels. And Game Pass Ultimate gave you PC Game Pass and console Game Pass. Gave you day one game launches from Xbox Game Studios, cloud gaming, all that good stuff. Standard gave you, not quite day one releases, but, a larger library of games. And then Core was, your lowest level. So they basically renamed these tiers to Essential is what Core used to be. Premium is now the middle tier, and Ultimate is still remaining Ultimate. But the perks that you get are now different. At the lower essential tier, that is going to be $9.99 now. So you're still going to get your online multiplayer, which used to be, Xbox Gold Live. You're going to get some in-game perks, but you're only going to get access to 50 or so games, as well as cloud gaming. There's also, access to the rewards program, but you don't get any bonuses. They got rid of all of the Ultimate and Game Pass discounts on both games and in-game currency. All that good stuff is now gone, and you basically just get the bare bones at the essential level. The premium level is now going to be $14.99. You're going to get access to 200 plus games, and those are not going to be your day one access to all of the Xbox Game Studio launches and stuff like Call of Duty. You do get PC and cloud access still, and you will, they did say, have access to those new games from the Xbox Studios within at least a year. And then finally, and I think this is the biggest change, Ultimate is going up to $30 a month, which is kind of crazy, and we'll talk about that in a second. And this, you kind of still get the same perks. You get access to day one games, the entire library, 400 plus games. You also get some additional perks like Fortnite Crew, which I guess is an $11.99 a month value. I don't really know what that gives you, but I'm assuming, Fortnite in-game perks. You'll get some Ubisoft Plus classics like the old Assassin's Creed games, old Prince of Persia games. You'll get a higher quality of cloud gaming, and you'll get extra rewards earning up to $100 in store credit. So Ultimate, obviously is going to be a tier above everything else, but it has basically doubled in price from what it used to be. And I know I kind of just gave you a big rundown, but Techtic, with all of this in mind, what are your thoughts?
All right. So first and foremost,
Did I do a good job?
You did a great job, honestly. And when I was reading through the Ultimate and the way you get rewards points and all of the perks and stuff, it felt very pyramid schemey. It was like, and if you get this many people to sell under you, it's like starting your own business. You're your own boss. And I was like, yikes. That's the first vibe I got. Just kind of sharing that out there. And then as far as, again, going on the Ultimate with like the EA Play, I do wonder how many people are going to subscribe to Ultimate with the current like EA acquisition that happened, because there's a lot of folks that are like pushing back on that purchase and I wonder if that's
EA Play has already been part of Ultimate for a while.
No, I know, but like with these prices, I wonder if the combination of the price and that acquisition, if people are just going to not even consider Ultimate, like it's not worth it for them.
I feel like because you get day one access to stuff like Call of Duty and Ubisoft games and, the entire Xbox Game Studio / Activision swath of studios, I feel like EA is such a small part of the puzzle.
I'm glad you brought up Call of Duty, because after like 2.5 months of having Ultimate, you could just buy Call of Duty day one. So like the price is a huge deterrent for me from that perspective of I like to compare things of how many games could I buy with this, and it feels like I can just buy the games I want because nobody can play 400, right? And nobody can play 400 games. Like it's just so many games with a high price that it's just the cost benefit analysis isn't really there. And then that's with, I guess, adults with real money. Let's talk about children talking to their parents of, hey, can you do this $30 a month thing for me? I want to be like, no, dude. Like, play outside, touch grass.
So I think on one hand, I'll try to be devil's advocate. So I, at the very inception of Game Pass, had clamored about how it was a great value. But I did, I think,
But it was a great value.
Right. And I did, I think, caveat that it's probably bad for developers, but kind of like Movie Pass, at the time, like if you were a consumer, while you could get in at the ground level, it was a fantastic value. And if you were smart like I am, I'm going to toot my own horn here, you could have stacked your Game Pass subscription. And at one point, I think I paid like ridiculous amount, like probably a third of what a year would cost now to stack my Game Pass subscription, and it doesn't expire until 2028. So I'm all set. I'm not going to be affected by the increase, but I will not be resubscribing when it, eventually expires. That being said, when it was cheaper, so I am somebody who I don't know if I'm going to like an indie game, for example, or even a AA game. I am okay with shelling out full price for a AAA game that I know I like. And for the most part, and this is a little bit of a shade towards Xbox Studios, those purchases for me have been living on either the PlayStation or the Switch. So what Game Pass was really good for was giving me the opportunity to try a bunch of indie games without having to spend money. And at the time, because, even a month subscription being at, I don't know, I think it started at $10 a month. Someone fact check me on the internet. Let me know if I'm wrong. But for $10 a month, if you look at how many indie games I could sample, like I tend to bounce off some indie games. Like I'll try them for a couple hours, and if I don't like them, then I can move on. And that was what Game Pass was super great for. Like I have tried so many different smaller games that I would never have shelled out $15 or $20 for full price. But at $30 a month, I would just wait for a Steam sale at this point. Like I would try a demo. There's so many demos on Steam. And like you said, if you took what it would cost to pay for a year of Game Pass Ultimate at this price point, and you just saved your money and you waited for a Steam sale, because now all of the Xbox games are also on Steam. Like there's no real Xbox exclusivity anymore tying me to that console. I could take that money, wait for a sale. Like the Halo Master Chief Collection, I have seen on sale for like $3.99 on Steam. Like you could buy so many games.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that point too with the Xbox exclusivity. Is like, I think we're moving away from just Xbox as a hardware. It's just going to be Microsoft as a service, which in my opinion is going to be the death of everything we know. It's going to move players back to PC. What is the point if it's not like its own like nicely bundled system?
I have so many theories on this. So first of all, Xbox has come out and addressed those rumors, and they said, hey, look at our partnership with, I believe it was AMD. Like we have a partnership here. We are still investing in our consoles. This is a total rumor. Like we're not moving away from consoles. We'll see how that pans out. Like they've also said that when they acquired Activision, they were like, oh, we're not going to raise the price of Game Pass. And here we are now. So like they've said that they're not going to move away from consoles in the last week.
But the shareholder promise is always, you're not going to own anything and you're going to be happy with it. And that's where it's going to trend. It inherently is going to trend. The subscription server base is so disgustingly profitable, and they lose money on hardware. If they continue this trend of not caring about the gamer and only caring about profits, it's inevitable.
But see, this is where I think that might not be correct. So already, when this increase for Game Pass Ultimate was brought up and announced for $30 a month, the Xbox website crashed because so many people
tried to leave it.
Yeah, tried to cancel their subscription. I think because while Xbox is the stronghold in terms of the subscription gaming service, because players are still elsewhere, they're on the Switch, they're on the PlayStation, they're on PC, I don't think Xbox can hang their hat on just being a service only.
Right, they need their games to hold them afloat.
Right, and I don't think I think if anything, we're going to see them become a publisher if they truly do move away from hardware, but I think Game Pass will have a slow and sad death because eventually more people will cancel and then the price will go up. And as we're seeing, they have to raise the prices because all of these studio acquisitions that they've made, like I think there was a Forbes article that just came out that said that Xbox lost a ton of money because that acquisition of Activision was billions of dollars. And on Call of Duty alone, by including that in Game Pass, they lost all of those sales. Like they really banked on people who had not played Black Ops or Call of Duty in a while, getting in there and being like, I love this. It's on my Game Pass, but now I need all of the extra, microtransactions. And that didn't happen and they lost money.
I think what Microsoft wants to be is basically a private equity firm where they can take all these successful IPs, flip it for a profit, and then move on to the next churn and burn thing. And I think you saying they might become a publishing house in the future, it's kind of synonymous with that.
I don't know if that was even their intent. I honestly, sometimes I look back and Xbox, this entire generation, and even going back to the Xbox One, aside from the fumble with the Kinect and trying to turn the Xbox One into this like all-in-one home entertainment system instead of just focusing on games like PlayStation did successfully, like that really shot a hole in their foot. I don't know if that's a metaphor. I just made it up, but it did. And I think then, they focused so much on Kinect and the weird hardware peripherals that they pulled away from games, and there was an Xbox game drought for the longest time. And so I think they tried to address that because at one point I remember Phil Spencer saying that the problem with Xbox competing in the console space was that so many people after the last generation were married to their game library on PlayStation. So how do you fix that problem?
You move to PlayStation.
No, if you're Xbox, how do you fix that problem?
You move your games over to PlayStation.
Partly that, but if you're trying to get them to your console, if you're still trying to play in the console space and you're trying to get them to your console, you give them an all-in-one game library, which I think is where Game Pass came in. I think that was the original intent. They saw stuff like Netflix and they were like, hey, we can get people into this ecosystem. We don't have to worry about their game library, being minuscule when they buy our new console because they're going to have 400 games at their fingertips. And I just don't think they watched what was happening in the streaming space. We're seeing it now in streaming. All of these services are being cannibalized by themselves. Prices are going up. Like they're even seeing like big releases. And we saw this with even like HBO. When HBO Max tried to put their big movies on their service like almost immediately, they saw box office sales drop drastically. And they realized, hey, we're just cannibalizing our own
They're shooting
sales
themselves in the foot.
Right. And so I think Game Pass maybe started as a way to combat the, leg behind that they were. I'm making up metaphors.
You were on fire with these. I'm so
You
were
fire.
Close, by the
yes.
way. Hole in the foot is shooting yourself in the
yes.
foot.
I'm just raring to go today. But yeah, I think they were trying to bridge that gap that they had from the last generation of consoles where PlayStation kind of had them in the bag and fell into this streaming subscription trap, and now they can't keep up. And they keep saying that it's profitable, but if it was really profitable, would they keep raising the prices?
That's a tough question to answer because even if it was profitable, they would still keep raising the prices because you have to have year-over-year growth.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a sticky wicket. I mean, we are seeing this across the industry. You look at the price of Switch 2 games going up, and that was a big hullabaloo when they announced the prices of Switch 2 games, and they increased it by $10. And I think,
Xbox has been like tiptoeing, but it's 80, it's 70, and like they're trying very delicately to sneak in a higher price without pissing people off, and it's going to piss people off.
Now, my question for you before we move on to the next Xbox news topic is, does this feel like lately gaming in general is becoming less accessible to normal people? Because you look at the prices of consoles, like the Switch 2 is much more expensive than pundits and experts originally hypothesized. You look at, this is the first console generation where over time in a generation, console prices have increased throughout the lifespan of a console. Like the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X went up in price since they first released. They didn't go down in price.
Insane.
Games have gotten more expensive.
There's
Game
other
Pass
factors
is more
to it. Like they are blaming it on the geopolitical climate and blah, blah, blah. But it is unprecedented.
Like it just feels like if you are someone looking to get into gaming outside of, the indie game sphere and maybe getting a Steam Deck or a cheap PC and playing indie games, like gaming and AAA gaming is becoming really inaccessible.
To your point of streaming services cannibalizing themselves, I think the console spaces are starting to cannibalize themselves, and it's going to point people to the Steam Deck. All over the internet, people are saying that Steam is somehow coming on top as the best console for like entry level getting into gaming because it's affordable. All of the Steam sales, all of the like access to the indie games and the vast libraries that are giving you these AAA titles across all three platforms. Like it's kind of crazy to watch.
Yeah, it's a very weird time to be a gamer. And Techtic, I think this also, like this Game Pass price increase, and aside from like also the price of the handheld, kind of swayed you away from getting the Xbox Rogue Ally as well, right?
The price is the main thing. So let's talk about the Xbox Rogue Ally.
Okay.
So there's two prices. There's the top tier and then the regular. So the Rogue Ally and the Rogue Ally X, one is $9.99 and then the other one's $5.99, I believe. And the delta of $400 is like a slight increase in processing power and battery life, but overall it's not that staggering. So like the lower tier is like a decent entry level, but when you talk about like, hey, I'm going to be on the go, and I need this library and it's going to be Game Pass, And then now I have to pay $30 a month if I want a deep library. No, thank you. So it's going to move me, at least, to the Steam Deck, where I can have a very cheap library. It's my existing library that I've been acquiring over years and years and years, and it's good.
And I will say, you can still play Game Pass games via the cloud service as long as that exists on the Steam Deck, and I have. I successfully played Starfield on my Steam Deck.
And you can get it for anywhere between $300 and $400, depending on if there's a sale, which beats out all of the latest console drops.
And now that kind of brings us to our next topic of the day, talking about, Xbox cloud gaming. So until now, Xbox cloud gaming has been a reason that you need Game Pass. So they did recently expand Xbox cloud gaming. Before, you could only play certain Game Pass games on Xbox cloud gaming. Then they expanded it to you could play games that you owned, not necessarily ones that were on Game Pass, but games that you owned that were compatible as long as you had Game Pass. That was how you could activate the service. Now, reportedly, Xbox is looking at doing free cloud gaming supported by ads with monthly play limits. So you would no longer need Game Pass to access cloud gaming. Obviously, based on the tiers and what, Ultimate gives you better streaming, I think, priority and quality than if you are on the lower tier of Game Pass levels. Obviously, you're not going to be prioritized on their servers like a Game Pass Ultimate member would be. And probably the resolution is not going to be as good. That said, first of all, would you play cloud gaming? Even the games that you own, say you don't have Game Pass, but just the games that you own, they're on cloud gaming. Would you play that? Would you use that service, say on your Steam Deck, if you had to suffer through ads? Like, what is the threshold? How many ads would you have to go through? Like, if you got interrupted multiple times, would it have to be just like one time at the beginning? Like, what is your threshold of acceptance for ads to access a service like that?
So the main reason that we're constantly moving to more powerful consoles and faster load times is because people don't like the load times between like the main menu and starting the game. Okay. And then, so you're going to have this fantastic machine, and then you're going to very abruptly give them a load time.
Only if you're using cloud gaming.
Right. But
if you have stuff like loaded, like if you're on the Rogue Ally X and you have a game downloaded to the device, you're not going to experience this. This is just cloud gaming. Right.
But that's what it's going to feel like. It's going to feel like now I have more load times, which people don't like. That said, if it was like an ad pops up when I hit pause, that's fine. It's you're marketing to me, but it's not like slowing down or interrupting my experience. I'd be okay with that.
But they can't guarantee that you're ever going to hit pause.
But that's for them to decide. They're the one rolling out ads. Not
that's
me.
what I'm asking though. Like, so say like every 20 minutes, if you had to watch an ad, would that piss you off?
Yeah. I mean, when's the optimal time to throw an ad into a game?
That is fair. Like, especially if you're playing something online. You imagine being in the middle of a match and it's like, wait, you have to go AFK because you have to watch an ad real quick.
I mean, there's not only like online play, but there's also, is it going to be like right after the climax of like an intense scene, and then it just takes away from the joy that game, that the developers were trying to convey to you. Sometimes the come down is just as good as that moment, right? It's like the reprieve. I don't want to learn about like, I don't know, Tylenol after I just slayed a dragon.
Relevant.
Like, it's going to take away from the experience, and I don't really like that. And that's why I say if it's just like a jut and it just takes me out of it, that's going to ruin the experience. But if it's on the pause screen, I would not care.
But now, again, just to ground you a little bit, you're using this service on a device that you typically wouldn't be, maybe like your phone, mobile browser, or you're on your Steam Deck and you're like, you know what? I have my entire Steam library here, but I really just want to continue that game I was playing on Xbox. For the inconvenience and for the free ability to access your game, you would be annoyed with that?
I uninstall phone apps when too many ads come. Like,
that's fair.
My uncle loves chess, and he's like, hey, play this chess game. I want to see how far you go. And I rage quit the app the second an ad came up because I couldn't bear to find the little microscopic X to get rid of it. I don't want to be advertised to more. It's almost become like, hey, can we market them in their sleep at this point? It's becoming way too dystopian for me.
You don't already have ads in your dream?
No. Like, it's just too much. I mean, like, we're watching a movie. Like, mid-movie now, it's ads, and like you have to click the ads or else the ads won't go away. It's just become so obtrusive in our lives. There's no world where I comfortably want to sign up for more and say that I'm okay with more.
Yeah. I feel you. I think for me, I would probably be okay with some ads. Like I said, I'm subscribed to Game Pass until 2028, so this hopefully won't affect me anytime in the near future. But I could see some people never using the service because they're like you, and even one ad is too much. And I could see other people being like, you know what, totally fair if I want to access my games.
My games are an escape from society. They're going to put society in my face.
Dude, there are so many games. I can't even remember. Oh, no, this is a great example. So playing Call of Duty, I was severely marketed to where there was the Tony Hawk, like little hint at the Tony Hawk Pro Skater remaster that was coming out. And like, it was very effective because I was like, oh my God, there's a Tony Hawk remaster coming out. But like, that was in the game. That was like
an
in the
Easter egg, or was that?
I mean, a little column A, little column B. I mean, effectively, even though it was an Easter egg, it was advertising.
Yeah, I think.
And it worked. Like, I was hyped about it.
But like, it was casual, right? It didn't like blow up your experience. It was just like in passing. And that's a fine. That's why that's akin to the pause menu, I would say. But like, if it's like, hey, take this erectile dysfunction pill in the middle of like a firefight, no thanks.
Oddly specific. Is that the type of ads that you're getting?
All of the ads are anything in medicine. That's all. Like we see about Ned's plaque psoriasis.
During every NFL commercial. It's so crazy.
Come on.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like Xbox really cannot seem to catch a break, though. They're shooting themselves in the foot. I'll use the appropriate, metaphor there. But they have so many games finally coming out, first-party games, and it just feels like this year has been a slew of bad marketing decisions, price increases, feeling like you're screwing over the consumer over and over. And you finally have a lineup of games that people are excited for, and it's just bad news after bad news associated with the brand over and over and over again. Horrible.
I think there's almost like they should really just take a breath and talk to their PR person. They say, hey, what would get us gamers back on our side?
At this point, I'm not really sure. They bought so much goodwill with Game Pass when it first got introduced just for the value. Like, I remember, and obviously we were guilty of it because I was using Game Pass I think I converted a shit ton of games with Gold or Xbox Gold Live to Ultimate, and I wasn't paying anything. And I was basically playing games for free, which again, not great for developers. But like, I was guilty of saying, hey, this is fantastic. This is a great value. Check it out. And so many other people online were saying the same thing. And there was so much goodwill being built around that. And just to watch it all come crumbling down, like I said, in the midst of all of these great games coming up. You have Grounded 2, which just came out. The new Doom game just came out. The Outer Worlds is coming out. Outer Worlds 2. You had Avowed just come out. Like, there's so many. Indiana Jones. You have games after games. Finally, this is like what Xbox gamers have been clamoring for. It's just these first-party games to come out. And it's just being beat down by these bad decisions. All right, so we're going to go into our break. But before we do, and I know this was kind of doom and gloom. I'm so sorry, Xbox fans. But we'll give you some good news. Stephen Keller, still awesome. Still getting his weekly shout out. We'd like to thank you, Stephen, for being our Patreon producer. Stephen is subscribed to us at the night level over on our Patreon at patreon.com/onlinewarriorspodcast. As a result of his subscription, he gets this weekly call out. He gets access to our monthly video vlog and secret segment and voting rights on topics for those things. If you want to be as cool as Stephen, I know I sure do, head on over to patreon.com/onlinewarriorspodcast. You'll find 3 different tiers of subscription, each with different levels of goodies and perks, and all of them come with the satisfaction of knowing you are keeping the lights on here at Online Warriors Central. And now we're going to take a bit of a break. Hopefully come back with less bummerful news.
Let's see, Alex. What do you think of Jaws, which is at 97% Rotten Tomatoes?
I find it to be anti-shark propaganda. What do you feel about the Entourage movie, which is at a meager 33%?
I think they finally got Hollywood right. How about It Follows, 97%?
Worse than your parents giving you the sex is evil talk. How do you feel about Juno, which is at 94%?
That would be a movie that celebrates a teenage homewrecker. How about Bewitched at 25%?
Best television adaptation ever put to film. How do you feel about American Hustle at a towering 93%?
Overwrought awards bait. Righteous Kill, 19%.
The movie that Michael Mann wishes he had made when he created Heat.
Sounds about right. I'm Julio.
I'm Alex, and we are the Contrarians.
As you can tell, our thing is that we rage against the Rotten Tomatoes machine,
regardless of what we really feel.
Find us on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn,
Facebook, Twitter, We're everywhere.
And we are back, and we have some kind of fun news. The International Olympic Committee and the Sega Corporation have announced a multi-year licensing deal to launch a co-branded merchandising program for the Olympics. And I gotta say, in like big, bold letters, the merch is gonna fucking slap. So the whole thing is based on the fact that like Sonic is a very positive influence, and he's kind of welcoming and like well recognized by children and really families alike. And so by having him sort of as the mascot for the Olympics, it'll help bring all sorts of people to watching these shows, and it'll get everyone excited for it. But the merch is going to slap.
I agree that the merch is going to slap. I do think that this is really clever. I think that Sonic has been super popular lately, and I think that Olympic viewership, especially, and so as somebody who did tune into the Olympics this past year, the Olympic viewing experience was really weird and segmented. I remember that the Olympics used to be all just on like your main channel, like NBC or something.
Streaming services.
And yeah, now it is extremely segmented on streaming services, which means it's really easy to find the one specific thing you watch, but not everybody is all clued in to the same thing at the same time. And I feel like for that reason, viewership has kind of dropped off. Like for me, I had no idea what was going on with the Summer Olympics outside of beach volleyball, because that was the only thing that I was interested in.
And even finding like the beach volleyball you wanted to watch was still somehow segmented, because it was like, it wasn't just on cable. It was like this time and this time is this slot and you can watch this. And it was, even that was very confusing.
I definitely agree. So I think anything that the Olympic Committee can do to drive people back to it, because I feel like the general chatter and clamor of having everybody watching the same events at the same time is gone now. So, and I know Sonic is not going to be the thing that pushes people over the edge to be like, oh, I gotta get back into the Olympics. But maybe, you know, it'll just bring a little bit more buzz and hubbub around the Olympics.
So not only do I think that they need to like use the Sonic IP as part of like their merch and like all of the decals or whatever you want to call it.
Well, they have the video game too, like the Sonic Olympic games.
Right, but I think it needs to go beyond that. The coolest thing that I find in any Sonic game, and I've clamored about this before, is the soundtrack. And they need the Sonic sound team or the Sega sound team to collab with the Olympics. Can you imagine the soundtrack for snowboarding when that drops?
That would be pretty badass. And they do have a really cool little Sonic snowboarding logo thing set up for the Olympic Committee and this collaboration. So like that would be pretty badass. I'm not going to lie to you.
Like, there's so much potential here. And I go back to my favorite, Sonic Adventure Battle 2. When he's on his, quote, snowboard in that game, it's a piece of an airplane. They can even, like, zhuzh up a lot of, like, the player's gear and stuff to be, like, winks towards these games. This can go so deep. And I'm so glad that you brought in Mario. Hell, Mario and Sonic in the Olympics. I know this isn't what's the scope of it now, but the future has possibilities.
I am really curious about that, because all of the video games that have come out lately have been like Mario and Sonic in the Olympics. I'll say that again, Mario and Sonic in the Olympics. Like, it's been a joint venture type video game situation. And it is weird to see that this is only Sonic, given that video game history. And I'm wondering, like, did they just focus on Sega? Like, did they say, screw you to Mario? Like, I'm curious about the context behind it.
It's probably going to be, it would probably be a heck of a lot more expensive to like get that partnership going, or like Nintendo's weird with their IP. So maybe Sega just as a standalone had the ability to do this. So
it also, I think, does make a little bit of sense. And I'm just putting this together now, and I feel a little bit stupid that it took me this long, but Sonic's whole thing is rings. And the Olympic rings, like, that makes so much sense. And literally, I'm sitting here looking at the logo and the press release, and I'm just like, yeah, okay, Sonic and rings. That makes 100% sense.
Now, my question to you is, will you be buying merch? So, like, on this webpage, there are 3 images. There's the squad, including Amy, Tails, Shadow, Knuckles, Sonic running. There's just a Sonic running, and then there's Sonic on a snowboard. Which one, if they're on a hoodie, are you buying?
So I'm a sucker for Tails. I've always been a sucker for Tails. If you feed me good Tails merch, I might consider buying it. However, I have generally as a whole, and this is, I guess, not Sonic related, but I'm just talking about now my like personal style as a whole. I've moved away from graphic tees a little bit. Like I have graphic tees, but they're band tees. They're not like IP tees. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with them. I find that when I lean into IPs, when I'm buying t-shirts, the cycle, I guess, of when they're relevant is too quick. Bands are forever. And again, no shade to video games, but how quickly someone remembers, I don't know, whatever fad game I bought a t-shirt for 5 years ago. Like the market.
So you're not buying any merch?
I'm not saying I'm not buying any merch, but you asked me specifically about clothing. And so I'm wondering, like for t-shirts, I probably wouldn't buy that. But if there was some like cool other gizmo or gadget, I would consider. Like if there was like a controller or something, like, I'm a slut for a special edition controller. I love me a good controller.
Jeez.
The consumerism in me comes out when you give me a nice special edition controller. So if there was like a Tails controller, especially in like orange, I have an orange Xbox controller. I could use an orange PS5 or Nintendo one with Tails on it, preferably.
So a lot of this article is focused on the merch, but do you think in the Olympics themselves, do you think they should go one step further and make it almost like a, dare I say, a Nintendo World type venue?
So I think they usually do have like an Olympic mascot. I can't remember what last year's was, but it was like a cutesy character. I think you have to have all of the Sonic characters there as mascots. 100%.
Maybe a couple Chow babies sprinkled in, those who know.
Oh my God,
know.
yes, absolutely.
Okay, so I'm excited for this. Let us know your thoughts and let us know what characters you want to see. Like I said, I'm going to get the snowboarding apparel 1,000%. Give me a cool black hoodie with a white Sonic silhouette. I'm in.
Now, we're moving away from the news into What Are You Up to Wednesday? Techtic, I know you really want to sing it. I'll let you do it.
What are you up to Wednesday?
And we actually did a lot this week.
We did. We watched a lot too.
We did. And Techtic, I'm gonna throw it over to you. I'll let you start.
All right. So the one I want to talk about is the movie Novocain. This is starring Jack Quaid, and it's about, he's sort of a boring, plays it safe guy, but he's got a genetic mutation where he can't feel pain, and it plays into it like he's a superhero in an action movie. And I gotta say, for a dumb action movie, this movie is good. Don't turn your brain off, enjoy yourself. The plot's pretty solid. There's a little bit of okay, we're buds now. And that's not how the law works, which we can get into that a little bit more on future What Are You Up To's. But overall, I'd say it was a solid movie. It's very, very gruesome. So
that is true. There are some scenes that I literally cringed away from because it was just oh my God.
If you're a little bit squeamish, I probably wouldn't watch it.
I think you could watch it, but just have someone who's not squeamish there to cover your eyeballs.
But other than that, it's definitely a good movie. I would check it out. That's my overall. I don't want to spoil too much, but basically, guy can't feel pain, goes out to feel the one pain he can feel in his heart.
Well, I think what I really liked about the movie was, first of all, so Jack Quaid's character, like you said, he kind of was an everyman. And without spoiling anything, he's compelled to become a superhero version of himself, but he never kind of loses that everyman attitude. Throughout the entire movie, he maintains the same character. He's just kind of an aw shucks type nice guy.
Yeah.
And I think the fact they were able to carry that through, and even I think that drives a lot of the comedy in this movie because it is kind of a dumb action movie, but I also thought it was a very solid comedy. There were enough one-liners where I was heh, throughout.
And the cast was surprising. People just kept coming out of the woodwork that I didn't anticipate being in this movie.
So overall, I think the writing was pretty well done considering the topic of the movie. It should have just been a dumb action movie, but it was a solid comedy in and of itself as well. And I feel that's pretty rare these days. You usually, when an action movie tries to be funny, a lot of times it feels heavy-handed. But I think also that goes to show Jack Quaid is really good at carrying this type of role. I think that shows in The Boys too.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's basically the same character in The Boys. He's, again, that aw shucks. Is he a badass? Is he not a badass kind of guy? I think he's more of a badass in this than The Boys, but overall, yeah. It's his role. He's been cast into a certain archetype for sure.
And then the other movie that we watched, and Techtic, I'm going to dissect this with you as well, but we actually got a free month of Apple TV Plus, so we are back on that train.
Absolutely.
And we watched The Fountain of Youth. And this is the movie that has John Krasinski and Natalie Portman and a whole slew of other, pretty well-known actors.
Wasn't as
like
good.
Domhnall Gleeson. And I think this movie thought it was smarter than it actually was. So
it thought it was National Treasure. It was trying to be National Treasure. And those of you who are Nick Cage fans, you would be insulted.
The problem, I think, so John Krasinski, I have no problem with the fact that he has tried to become an action star and he got buff and all that kind of stuff. But in everything that I've watched him in, he's never necessarily been cocky. He's always been kind of this unassuming guy who just happens to be good in an action role. Or like in The Office, he's a little cocky, but like he's still just kind of an office worker loser. You know what I mean? And I say loser with love. In this movie, he was kind of pompous and condescending. And I would say the entire cast and crew, and I love me some Natalie Portman too, like these characters spoke like they were written by somebody who thought they were the most brilliant person on the planet. Like the vocabulary used was very highfalutin. And I understand that these characters were supposed to be very smart. They were supposed to be the children of an archaeologist.
I'm laughing because you said words that I don't even understand.
You know the word highfalutin.
No, I've never heard that before.
Essentially like pompous and
okay.
like heady words. And so the plot of this movie is that Natalie Portman and John Krasinski are siblings, and they are the offspring of a well-renowned archaeologist, and they are on the quest to find the Fountain of Youth because Domhnall Gleeson is playing a billionaire who is dying and has tasked this team to find the Fountain of Youth to save his life. And I don't want to get into more of that, but like he said, it's kind of National Treasure-esque in that they have to find all of these paintings and put puzzles together to find the location of the Fountain of Youth. But the entire time, these characters, and I get that they're smart. Natalie Portman is a museum curator. John Krasinski's character has taken on archaeologist work as well. But like the way they talk to each other, it's like somebody went in a thesaurus and were like, okay, we're going to have them say big words and it's going to make them sound smart. But at no point am I ever really convinced that they are smart. They're just throwing big words at each other and sound kind of like douchebags. And it's sad because I really liked both of those actors a lot. Like, I love Natalie Portman. Like, she's top tier in my book. Big Natalie Portman fan. And I was just like, this is just not hitting.
And like, this isn't, I'm not going to spoil it, but if you're afraid that I'm going to spoil it, turn your volume down now. But like, there was like a lot of laws broken and some murder, and it was like, oh, well, we're all buds. Like,
yeah, like the cops at the end, they're just like, oh, okay, this is a spoiler. I'm going to say this is a spoiler, but the cops at the end are just like, all right, well, we're alive, so I guess we can all just walk away from this. And it's just like, no, they're all international felons at this point. Like, what are we doing?
You have to consider the human aspect of it. Like, if I'm on a team of one group here or group there, and my entire squad is gunned down, they're just not, a bunch of goons. They're people that I went to their bar mitzvahs or whatever. And like, you just killed little Johnny. Like, come on. That's not going to get forgotten magically.
And there were also just some things, and I guess this is just the skeptic in me, like National Treasure, I haven't watched that in years, so maybe this is the same way, but I don't remember. But there were some things that just physically were impossible, or if this was possible, why hasn't anyone in real life done this before? There were so many of those moments, and I was just like, what is happening?
Well, those moments I can explain away, and I think I did explain away. There's like this group of watching people to stop things from being solved, and like my theory is maybe other people along the way did try to solve it, but they just shut that shit down.
Oh, that's not even what I was talking about. Although that was cringy too. Like John Krasinski's, they kept trying to have him be like sexy time with the protector lady, and that was just felt weird as
I
well.
Have stabbed him. Like,
yeah, like it was just so his character was so insufferable in this movie. But there was also a point where there was a painting that they were retrieving that should have been waterlogged and ruined for centuries, and yet they were able to retrieve it.
They talked it away with, it's in a watertight vault.
Like, okay, it's still at the bottom of the ocean. Saltwater wrecks the actual ship metal itself. Like, this vault would not still be there. It's
watertight. They said it. It's watertight.
Like stuff like that just bothers me because I feel like there's better ways. Like just don't write that plot device in. Like figure out a different place for the painting to be. I don't know.
In a mountain.
Sure. Sure. That would make more sense, honestly. If the cold mountain air preserved it better. I don't know.
It makes you wonder, like, was a little bit of the script AI kind of things? Who knows?
It was kind of crazy, though, because you could tell that there was a lot of money spent on this movie, a lot of money spent on special effects. Obviously, the cast was very, high star power, highly paid. And this was an Apple TV movie. And honestly, I'm usually on board with a lot of stuff that Apple does. And this one was just kind of a miss for me. Like, I was entertained for the 2.5 hours that we watched it. I don't regret watching it. But there were a lot of plot holes. And I feel like for the money that Apple probably paid for this movie, it shouldn't have had that many issues.
I was fully anticipating the Sonic ending of we did it with the power of friendship. I really was when we were watching this. But Sega didn't partner with them.
And then I know we just railed on Game Pass for about 45 minutes solid, but I played a game that I found on Game Pass as well this weekend. And so you guys are very well aware that I love myself some Vampire Survivor and Brotato. So I found a game that was very similar called Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. And this is from the Deep Rock Galactic franchise and IP, but they basically took the auto shooter, single player survivor setting similar to Brotato and Vampire Survivor, and they've layered things on top of it. So you obviously are still getting your weapon upgrades, you're still upgrading your character, and like overruns, you can also buy additional upgrades to upgrade your character persistently. But essentially you're dropped into a mining situation. You're a miner and you have weapons that are shooting at these bugs that swarm you, much like in Vampire Survivor, but you also are tasked with finding resources on this level. So you have an axe, and while your character is shooting at the alien bugs around you, you are axing through walls, you're axing through, mineral resources to try to meet your quota. And once you've met your quota, you also have to clear out that level of the mine by drawing out the big elite bad guy and taking him down. And I think it adds another layer to the mechanic that Vampire Survivor and Brotato introduced. I think the mining especially, and the fact that you can kind of work your way through obstacles and walls and channel the enemies into different barriers and paths really adds an element of strategy because you get to escape swarms and try to maneuver out of enemy reach. And I just think it's very unique. I also thought there's a lot of, your individual character has some like dialogue quips as you're getting requests from the mining overseer. And I just thought that was kind of entertaining as well because Brotato and Vampire Survivor are more or less quieter experiences and they don't have a ton of like individual character. Like obviously, yes, there are different like character models that you pick, but like the characters themselves don't have a lot of character. And so this game has a little bit more of that. And it is difficult. Like it's not easy for sure. It is meant for you to play it multiple times. You do need to get upgrades in order to succeed. And there's a lot of different settings and mines that you can work through. Like I think I've completed successfully now 4 different mines, and each one is comprised of 4 different levels that you have to beat. And they also have different environments. So like the very first one that you start out on, it's just very simple. It's just rock walls and simple minerals. But by the time I hit the 4th different environment, there were like these spiky vines that if you mine through, it hurts you back. So different challenges based on the environment that you're into, different characters that you unlock. So like the first one is a little bit more of like your standard, just, gunner, and miner, but like you can have a more heavy gunner type character, so on and so forth. I'm really enjoying it. I like this type of game. I'm a sucker for it. If you would have asked me like 5 years ago, if I would have liked this style of game, I would have been like, hell no, this looks too simple and stupid. And ever since I played Vampire Survivor, can't get enough of this shit, man. It's so good.
You're hooked on these type of games. It's crazy.
I think what I like about them is you can do a run in like 30 minutes. And every run is going to be a little bit different because the upgrades that you get along the way, I mean, it's like any roguelite where it's random. So you get to just test out different combinations of things and it's just fun. And it's only going to take you like half an hour, if that. And sometimes you just need that, a little bit of mindless.
That's fair. A little bit of mindless.
Yeah, it's great. Otherwise, I'm just playing Rocket League for like the 500th hour.
Nothing wrong with that.
There is nothing wrong with that. Now, Techtic, is there anything else you want to talk about?
You've already mentioned we want apple picking, so I think we've covered our bases.
All right. So we're going to wrap up this episode then. Thank you guys for sticking with us for this hour. We hope you guys enjoyed the news. I guess a lot of it was bad news, but hope you guys are informed now about what's coming if you're an
Good
Xbox
news
user.
is we're all aboard the Steam train.
But, reach out to us. We're on Blue Sky. I'm at ownerdbomber.bsky.social.
I'm at techtic.bsky.social.
And we are at onlinewarriors.bsky.social. Hit us up. Let us know what you think about the news this week. Let us know what you've been up to. If you've watched any of these movies, played Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, let us know. And until next week, stay safe.
And keep on podcasting.